Good evening and welcome to Gator's Garage, the home of all things historical and science fiction gaming in and around the great city of Savannah, Georgia. Might help if I look at the camera, huh, folks? Hope everybody's doing real well tonight. It's got the Mike and Randy show. We come to you about every Thursday talking about many things or all things Bolt Action. Say hi to the folks, Mr. Randy.
Hello, everybody.
There we go. Let me do this. There we go. I'm actually looking at the camera. Go us. What do you mean this is an amateur effort? Of course it is. We both have day jobs. There you go. We just think we're YouTube stars. No, Randy, you may not take off your shirt, please.
Dang
Oh, so tonight we're doing something a little different. Randy and I, as you know, are getting ready for the Savannah Pulaski's Guard Summer Tournament, which is this Saturday at a live church in Pooler, Georgia, which is just outside the fine city of Savannah, Georgia. Currently, we have 14 people signed up, and we thought we'd pull the curtain back and kind of go through a little bit of what we're working on in terms of getting the tournament prep together. Kind of show you folks some of what we're doing with that, and also review. We didn't think about it. There's actually been 3 FAQs dropped. They all dropped Friday. You got the rulebook may have dropped earlier than that, but armies of Germany and armies of the United States both dropped FAQs Friday. So we'll go over those just kind of as a FYI, and we're also going to talk about some of the things we're doing to put the tournament together. Give me just a minute here. I'm opening a couple files. What got me thinking about this is I just wanted to do something that was a little bit more casual and just kind of say, hey, here's what we got going on, and kind of just talk with the folks here. So Randy and I were talking about what triggered it for me and Randy is we're trying to figure out, okay, what tables do we want to have laid out? Originally, we had planned for 9, which would have been 18, which is like the absolute maximum that the church can hold, and then take over like every stitch of space near the fellowship hall, which is okay because we've got the whole thing all day. With 14 players, we only need 7 tables, so that makes things a little bit easier for us. And so we're debating which tables to drop. Randy, now, let's see, you and I were talking, we decided to drop because I thought some of this had been in the announcements, but apparently it was not. Good on me. But we've got of the nine tables, we've got a jungle airfield, desert table, chateau, snow table, bocage, Raycor Manor, city board, and then a country farm with hedges.
Yeah, and then Hill
Hill 112. It looks like I don't see Hill 112 on this one. I wonder if I have an older copy of the thing. That's pretty wild. Well, I know we're going to pull. I know we're definitely going to pull the city board for sure. And the reason we're doing that is, well, why did you agree to help pull the city board, Randy?
Yeah, the city board, although it's a really nice table. I mean, it's an awesome looking table. Actually, I did a battle report with it last weekend, and I've got an echo here somewhere. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think. Did you have the background?
The background.
Yeah, there's background noise, reduced background noise, and echo cancellation. That's what it was. If you don't have that, click. Because I was hearing myself through your mic, but I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I've got the background cancellation. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, so the city board, like I say, I did a battle report last weekend, so people can go look at that and see how good it looks. But it sucks up all my buildings almost, and it makes it really hard to put the other tables together. So that was when we decided to pull. And of course, the Hill 112 was actually kind of a difficult board to play on, with the middle being kind of open.
Yeah.
So think we decided to pull that one. And then that'll give us more buildings. We can put down more buildings on the other boards if we want to.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the advantage of of having a prior plan.
Yeah.
I had a roommate used to had a thing posted on our bulletin board. Prior planning prevents poor performance. And he wasn't wrong. And I kind of took it to heart, and that's kind of what we do. We try and make sure we get everything planned out at least a bit ahead of time, and give everybody plenty of time, give us plenty of time, with us juggling gaming and jobs and kids and all that. Give us plenty of time to pull things together. And I don't know, Randy, it still always seems like we're last minute getting everything done. One day we'll get this down to a science.
Maybe.
We'll just reach into a folder and pull things out.
So yeah, with that being said, do we have a contingency plan for the odd case that two more people just happen to show up and want to play?
We would have to set up. We'd have to keep it at 8 tables instead of 7.
Yeah. Now I have an extra mat that I can bring. That we can just throw something generic down if that situation cropped up.
That's I don't a very good question.
Usually we end up with less than what we planned on, but you know how things work. We could end up with more.
Yeah, I've not heard from anybody else that said they were coming, and we've told everybody. And this is kind of one thing we're all kind of maybe draw a hard line is, army lists were due by the 25th.
Yeah.
And I reached out to anybody and everybody who said they were coming. And
Yep.
we put something out, I think the beginning of this week as well as 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
and it's really not fair to it's not really fair to the players that turned in their list for somebody to show up and, oh, I'm gonna put this army together. The good thing is that some tournaments, like after the lists are due, they put out the list and the tournament packs for everybody to see. So nobody has been able to do that. Nobody sees it. So there won't be an advantage to somebody just showing up and throwing an army together. But
yeah, no, that would be way uncool.
Yeah.
There it is. There we go. Yeah, you had the Battle of Hill 112, and you decided to scrap that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was tough because I had to bring a whole bunch of geohex, so that one really sucked up a lot of space.
Well, and I think we ended up not using it. So
no,
rather than going,
I say that the theme tournament, there were people playing on that board.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember seeing people having to fight over it. That was a tough board, especially because it was hold until relieved or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So they had to get up on the middle
because
of the board.
Last time what we did is we actually themed the scenarios for the board, and it was a nice thought, but we generally players were okay with it, but I think I got the impression they would rather not do that again, so we didn't. This is going to be more of a traditional setup. I'm putting the finishing touches on the scenarios tonight. I actually have another TO taking a look at them to give a second opinion, so they'll be somewhat vetted, trying to keep from anything being too wild and crazy. I did come up with one scenario that was definitely different, and we'll see how that works. But Randy, I think we've got 7 here. Like I said, I don't know what to do if an extra player shows up. We can put table 8 with a question mark, and we'll certainly have enough tables. We'll do that one TBA. So tables 1 to 7 will be in play. Table 8 will be a TBA, and I think I'm looking at the people that are bringing tables. We should be fine.
Yeah.
there's 5 from the church. David Sauerkamp is bringing. He's bringing a half. Take that back. You're bringing 2, or I'm bringing a table, and then you're bringing a full table. Didn't you have enough tables to do 2 tables?
No, I have 2 folding tables, which makes 1 table. The last
Okay.
time I had that 6x4 board that I brought, which I donated, and I don't know. Yeah,
Which the church promptly put to use, by the way.
excellent. I'm glad it went to
Yes.
some good.
Yeah,
It was
they
a nice
sure
table.
did.
It really was.
It was a good piece of OSB. And
Yep.
I think that was Saturday night. So what we did, folks, is I told the pastor about it the next day, and he went and put it under cover. And last we saw it was being used somewhere in the church. So there we go. Nice donation there, Randy.
That's what I planned.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
The Hannibal Smith says, I love it when a plan comes together.
And I think my friend Mike Valentino is bringing 2 tables for us to use, so we have 8.5 tables roughly. Like I say, Sauerkamp's only bringing 1, which I thought was better than not.
Yeah.
And we got 10 tables at the church, so we should be good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in a pinch, we can turn one of those big round tables into one.
Yeah, you still need my 2 folding tables in, right?
I do. Yep.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, I'll get some cash and I'll be able to buy a couple more tables to keep at the church. But see, folks just need to buy more stuff from the store. All there is to it.
So a cheaper option, if you have a place to put them, is to pick up some 1/4-inch 6x4 plywood, and then you just put one down on the top of each of your single tables, and you're good to go.
Right. I'd have to look at that because plywood ain't cheap either. 1/4-inch seems like it would bow a lot. So, all right.
You would think, but
tables are set up, sir.
That's what Warzone uses, and believe it or not, they don't bow.
Okay.
That's why that table that I brought had all that framework done, because I thought, oh, it's going to bow on me, right? Well, it ended up being massively heavy and just too much to lug around.
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plywood. Oh, well, you had OSB too, and if anybody out there, if you're looking to build a game table, build it out of plywood, even if it costs you a little more. OSB is maybe a little bit more robust, but it's a lot heavier because they make it with glue, and it makes the same sheet of wood is so much heavier. So, all right, that's our tables. That sounds good. I'm working on the bingo card. I'm actually doing a little bit different approach on that. So we'll have that set up. So the way the bingo works, Bolt Action Bingo, is everybody gets to fill in their card, and when you get 5 across, you get a bingo and you get a prize. And this tournament, we're only going to let people win once. I think we had a couple of winners last time, so I'm going to let every card win once, and I think that'll be a little bit more reasonable. So there's that, Randy. What else do we want to cover off while we're talking tournament stuff here? We're got to be there. You and I probably need to be there by 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked with the pastor at the church today, and we can get in there tomorrow about 3:30.
Okay.
1 o'clock, they're going to be cleaning the church, so they'll just get it all nice and cleaned up for the grungy gamers to go in.
Go and mess it up,
Pastor. That's right. Well, I told him, I said, I don't want to show up at 1 and have Mrs. Pastor coming after us with a pitchfork. It's too early. She's God bless her. She's very sweet, and she's very good at making sure everything runs as it should. And when it doesn't, she's still very sweet, but she'll give you that mama look, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. Ask me how I know. I had my kids up at the church last Saturday because I thought about having my kids with me this Saturday. And so last Saturday when we ran Pelennor Fields, I had the girls with me, and we won't do that again. And I thought I got everything. I didn't quite get everything, and I got told about the couple things I missed. Pastor were like, you missed that, and we had to vacuum here. I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I was so tired when I got done. It took me as long to clean up after the kids as it took them to take down the game.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Mike, you want
So
to tell us a little bit about the tournament? The specs of the tournament,
yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe the list, because kind of how many German players we got, how many American players, kind of what are you seeing as far as the armies that are coming?
Okay. Hey, look at Randy take charge and turn this into a tournament interview. Thanks. That's a good idea. I was just thinking, nobody's ever interviewed me about my tournaments. Maybe that's
Yeah.
because I'm that boring. Let's see. I think that's it. Okay. Um, so let me do a quick sort here. You're seeing it here live, folks. And I got to tell you, if you are wanting to learn Excel, you learning to use it in something like this, where it's your job's not at work, your job is not under threat. It is. I tell people I've learned as much using Excel for my using Excel for gaming as I have using it. And it's not going to make it easy for me. Um, using it for work. So our armies we got a range of armies: British, French, German, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Romanian, and United States. So that's kind of interesting. Um, German is far and away the most represented. So we're going to have a lot of blue on blue. One,
Okay.
two, three, four, five, six, seven,
Wow.
and one other. Hang on just a minute. I think we've got another French too. I just haven't plugged it into this list here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always interesting to see what people bring to these things. One of the things, for good or bad, um, and you can toss rocks either way, but um, for good or bad, um, bolt action is a oh brother. Bolt action is a what's the word I'm looking for, Randy? Bolt action is played with what's called combat points. So there's different ways you can point things. I won't get too esoteric about it. Um, some games will use a combination of combat value and then throw in a rarity factor
Yeah.
to simulate, how rare it is. Actually, my favorite game does that.
Squad
Squad
leader.
leader. There we go. Had to get that in there, right? Um, but what bolt action does, and I really like it, I think it makes sense, is they use combat points, and so it is entirely possible based on combat points to field a 1940 French army, and I think that's what the other army is French. So we got two French,
Mm-hmm.
one each Hungarian, Romanian, Japanese, United States, Italian, and British. Only one U.S. Army, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. That's
Um,
surprising.
yeah, it really is. But one of the things that after I'd been playing for a while, I realized is, countries that historically just got blown out of the war, Hungary, Romania, they were not strong powers, uh, historically. But I tell you what, you face a Hungarian army or a Romanian army on the tabletop, they are nothing to sneeze at. I know the Hungarians aren't. Robbie Field's a good force.
Yeah. They've
And
got
then the French aren't
the
either.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah. And the French aren't either, but all the armies are fairly competitive. And I really appreciate that. Um, my friend Wayne is watching this. He'll laugh, but at some point I want to do an early war French army because I've played the early war French in both Squad Leader and Panzer Blitz, and I'll tell you what, I'll take 1940 French at the squad and platoon level against the Germans unless they have air support any day of the week. Um, I watched a video the other day talking about the myth of the Blitzkrieg, and they did a quick and a lot of people have done this. You compare German to Allied tanks, and the Allies really did have a significant advantage in both quantity. They didn't have a quantity advantage, but they had a hell of a quality advantage. You know, the Matilda was better than even the Matilda 1 was better than several of the German tanks. And the Germans were running that little Panzer 1, which I think I've seen in a couple lists. You know, and it's great it's great for hunting infantry, but it's
Yeah.
about useless if you come up against any serious armor, you know. And all the French tanks mounted, you know, we rate them as light, but they were 10 millimeters bigger than the German anti-tank guns. They mounted 47 millimeter guns in rotating turrets. And then your Char B had that 75 millimeter howitzer in the hull for dealing with soft targets. So, wow, like I say, I'll play French. I don't mind. Morale can sometimes be a problem, but hey, you know, that's what gendarmes are for. You back to the front. So yeah, predominantly German, and predominantly Axis. I mean, there's one British and one American army. I guess you could. I'm sorry, two British and one American and one French. So I guess you could. You know, the French are generally considered allied. So 1, 2, 3, 4 allied armies out of 14. So the other 10 are Axis allies. Hungary, Romania, Germany, Italy. Yeah, kind of interesting. Kind of interesting indeed. Go ahead.
How many company commanders are you seeing out there?
Just about every list has a company commander.
Yeah.
And if you're going to play tournament play, you definitely want to have that on the table.
They really rode the boat, don't they?
They do. They do. It's one of the things I really like about the new Bolt Action. Not a fan of the cover saves. And that's because, as anybody knows, you know, it's a bad dice baker, right? So cover saves are not my friend. But that company commander with his snap 2 of 4 is absolutely worth having. And so, yeah, leaders in this game are significant. The leaders and morale in this game have become much more important, and that's not a bad thing, not at all.
Yeah.
So,
how many observers are you seeing? You seeing any air or artillery observers?
Saw some RD observers. Yeah, I know there was I saw at least one list. This was an interesting approach. They took the observer and they paired him with 3 or 4 guys, however many you can use, because you know that's one of the big changes in V3 is your observers now. And I think there was, and your sniper. I don't think your sniper can add very many more people, just one, but your observer can have like 2 or 3 guys with it. And so what this one person did is they got the observer with I think 4 extra guys, and they're all armed with submachine guns. And you know, Randy and I were talking about this before we went live, but just by itself, the observer is infiltrator, so he gets to set up on the board deep in. Infiltrator allows you to set up anywhere on the board, right?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
So anywhere you want to set up, and then because they're infiltrators, they get a cover. I think they get a +1 to their cover save in most terrain.
Yep.
So you're looking at, you know, he's going to get to drop that arty on you. Then he's going to come hunt your rear end with submachine gunners.
Yeah. Or grab an objective, run out and grab an objective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
or if he's within striking distance of the other guy's observer, call in his strike and then run over there and shoot him to pieces before he can get his in.
You bet. You bet. Yeah.
Or even get him first. If he's a single man, you just run over there and submachine gun him down, and then you got the rest of the game to call yours in.
Well, now here's a question. If you don't, because you can't move and call in arty, right?
No.
But if you could manage to steal, wonder how that would work. If you could get lucky enough to catch that observer in range of your SMGs, I think you could hammer the observer with the submachine gunners and then call your arty strike. That'd be the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I might have to throw that one to the community. But I would adjudicate you could do both as long as you don't move.
Yeah.
Because you know, I mean, he's doing his thing, and the submachine gun guys are doing their thing. He just wouldn't be able to take part in the shooting. That's all. So, all right, very cool.
So the
Let's
meta
see.
seems to be Mike. The meta seems to be swinging towards armor. People are bringing a lot more armor.
Yeah.
But then there's others that are going like all infantry, no armor. Have you seen any no armor lists?
I saw one today that was no armor. They had Jeeps, but not armor.
Right.
And it was the heavy machine gun Jeeps, which are just nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
You know, because they can shoot, scoot, throw pins on tanks.
Yeah. And the range allows them to stay outside of rifle range. So, even though they're soft skins, they can stay way back and shoot out and do their thing.
Yeah. And even if you shoot at them, they're still soft skins. They're still hard to kill.
Yeah.
So
put them in cover, put them behind cover or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't see anything. I did see one list that had it had some kind of vehicle spam to it, and it just barely worked. They've got the 2 infantry platoons, boom, and then two big tank platoons, some kind of light POS tank that they're going to be spamming with. So we'll see how that works for them. But that's all they have. So there's no arty. And I want to say it was a light tank, so they're going to be vulnerable to, again, everything else: the heavy machine gun, the anti-tank rifles, enemy armor, Panzer Faust, Panzer Shreks, bazookas. So, and the guy said, I just wanted to see how this looked, and I gave it a good hard look.
Mm-hmm.
Is it spammy? Sure, but it's well within the rules, so I'm going to let it roll.
So
we'll see.
Yeah. So it's 1,250 points, and you got a 20 order dice cap, right?
Yep.
And any other restrictions in your list builds?
No, that was pretty much it. The consensus among both TOs and the community is people don't like a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
They want to be able to bring their toys. As a TO, I mean, you can run a restricted tournament, especially if you're running a double header like they run at Warzone, where you have that Friday night, and I think it's just infantry and light armor. And that's fine for, and honestly, you can run a tournament like that. Again, it's always optional for folk. They can choose to play or not. And I would argue that a good commander can be as competitive or win as well with 750 points as he can with 1250. You gotta, if you're running 750, you really have to pay close attention to your combat effectiveness. You're on the other end at 1250. Well, you get room now to bring some of the bigger tanks, and the big tanks are pluses and minuses too. They're harder to hit, but they are subject to pinning unless they're veteran.
Yeah.
So you got that going on, but they can dominate whole sections of the battlefield.
Yeah.
I haven't, I know one time I took a tank and I turned it so the turret was one way and the hull was the other. So I had the whole machine gun covering this section of the table, and then I had the gun and the coax covering the other section. So between the two of them, I covered a pretty long period of space, and done that a couple times. Done that with my armored cars too. Anything with a turret, go back to talking about that Stug.
Mm-hmm.
But the Stug's machine gun is 360.
Yeah,
that's you can. Yeah. So you can still cover a good section of the board. I know early on people were like, "Oh my gosh, what are you gonna? The big tanks are useless." It was like, nah, they're not useless. They're just not. They're like, you got to use them like they use them in real life. You gotta combine arms with it.
Yeah. So your dice cap's 20. What are you seeing for average dice cap? Dice people bringing.
I couldn't tell you. That's a good question. These may be questions I'll answer after. I think I've seen as high as 20.
Yeah.
And I've seen as low as 12.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the 12 list and going, wow. But they had a lot of quality troops. So
it'll work. Believe it or not, a 12 dice count will work if it's the right units. I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, that's where that company commander and even your platoon commanders come in handy.
Yeah.
If you're a German platoon, you're going to snap 2-3 guys. So, okay, you got 12 dice. but you snap 3 units and you chew up 3 of the opposing units that haven't activated yet. Now they got pins on them. So suddenly they go from a 20 dice availability to a 17 dice, 20 dice guaranteed to 17 dice guaranteed.
Yeah.
And, and if you put all 3 of those units on one unit, well, that's probably going to disappear like a dirt clod in a rainstorm. So, yeah. Seeing all kinds of vehicles.
Even if they go down, that their dice is coming out of the bag. If you shoot at them, they choose to go down. So.
And something to always think about on both sides. Most of your scenarios are only 6 turns.
Yeah.
So if you can take a unit, out for a turn, whether they go down, whether they fail a pin test, they're out for 1/6 of the game. So that's kind of, I got to thinking about that. I was, I think we were talking with Bo Mortensen one time, and it really clicked with me that, you don't necessarily have to kill opposing units. If you can take them out of the game for 2 or 3 turns, that's not a small thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing for maxing the dice out, because a lot of guys will try to hit the max because they want all the dice they can. Yep. I've run into trouble with my forward artillery observers, well, at least now with the British. And that's going to change when the book comes out. But with 2 strikes, if you have a lot of dice and maybe your opponent has a lot of dice, maybe you don't get but 4, maybe 5 turns in before time's called. That means a lot of times that second strike never comes in. And you lose out on effectiveness because you have so many dice. So sometimes it's better to cut back your dice a little bit to make sure you get 6 turns in.
I know we've had that debate since 3rd edition came out at 1250. How many points, how many dice cap? I know we had a really spirited debate in the Georgia group here about dice cap. And I know one guy was like, "Yeah, I run 20 dice and I win, or 20 dice and I can get through a game." He can get through a game, but at the last tournament he was in, I don't think he won a game, or he went 0-0. I think he went like 1-2.
Yeah.
So and that's part of that was because he was rushing.
Yeah.
Got to hurry, got to get it done. Now, on the flip side, if you're running 20 dice or running any number of dice, and this is one of the things, and I don't think we'll have that problem too much. We're going to have one player that's relatively new. He's using a borrowed army, so we may have to be a little patient with him.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But by and large, once especially if you're not activating, you should have a plan. You should have a plan, and I think Randy, you've talked about this. You should have a plan for your force from the moment you set it up.
Yeah.
You're going to get, all 3 of the scenarios at the beginning of the tournament. You're going to get it before you start playing. You're going to be able to kind of look at the different tables. The only thing you're not guaranteed is what table you're going to be on.
Yeah.
But you're going to know the different tables, and you're going to be able to say, okay, who do I want to do where? And once you're deployed, it's kind of literally, you got to think like a company commander. Okay, these 3 units, their tasking is to do this. And so when you get that die, you move on that. Now, obviously, your opponent's also trying to do that to you, and you may have to adjust. But if you got a plan for when you get that die, what you want to do next, you're ready to go. And that speeds up play.
Yeah, so John Ross taught me this when the first time I played him was, he said, before the game, look at the board and make a plan. Figure out how you want to accomplish your mission, and go for it. Don't just sit there and I need to change what I'm doing in the middle unless it's absolutely necessary. Just formulate a plan and execute it.
Yes. Yeah, plan and execute.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a good plan. It's also going to be flexible. So when you lose that key unit, you're like, okay, go to plan B, or, that's why I say 2-3 units to accomplish a given objective. They may get 1, but they may not get all 3. So that's really cool. But yeah, I think our last tournament, I don't think we had any trouble at all. We went, I think, a 20 dice cap, and I don't think we had any trouble at all getting through games. I think there was maybe one couple of guys, and they were kind of new, and they struggled a little bit, but everybody else finished on time. There you go. Got 3 rounds. We're going to start. We're going to sign in at 9 to 9:50. So I give a good range of people to sign in. Give us about 10 minutes to kind of brief, and then start around 10 o'clock. Do round 1 till about 12:30, and then lunch. And then round 2, we're gonna start about 1:45. Round 3 to go 4:30 to 7, and then round 4, 7:30 to 8:30. That may get adjusted a little bit. I think I've got 2 different schedules running out there, but we're gonna pretty much wrap around 8 o'clock. And then
Yeah, you mentioned
that's gonna be it. What's
it's
that?
3 rounds. It's 3 rounds, right?
3 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each is 2.5 hours.
So
Which
when does
should be plenty.
round 3 finish?
Huh?
Round 3, when does it finish?
Finishes at 7.
7. Okay. Yeah. Then so we'll have
Yeah.
awards and then clean up afterwards. Yeah.
You bet. You bet. And I got to say, our guys are usually pretty good. If I've got a plan, and I know it's being a TO and getting the most out of your team that helps you set up and take down. It's just like running a game. If I've got a plan and I know how to tell people to do what, folks are really good to hang around and clean up. The only time I've kind of been abandoned, if you will, is when I didn't have a plan. What do you need us to do? I have no idea. I'm too tired. Okay, we're going home. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So, and Randy, you're spending, I guess, Friday night and Saturday night then here in Savannah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Won't that be fun? Okay, good. Remember your ABCs. So, yeah. And then our terrain, and we put this on the announcement as well. Bocage, we're gonna have some of that on there.
Yeah.
Water, we clearly define what creeks are. Structures, craters, desert. You know what I don't have on here, Randy, that I should, and I've got time to actually change it before the event, is woods. I need to define that the outline of, if there's an outline of the woods on a map, then that is the extent of the woods, because we use a lot of the maps from Cigar Box Battle Mats,
Yeah.
and they've got the wood outline there. And I've had people get confused because we used the large tree stands. Thank you, Jim Casey.
Yep.
And now obviously if you got a large tree stand standing in what is obviously open ground, the tree stand is the edge of the trees. But people sometimes get confused when they're actually in the tree outline. So I've had to make sure I define that for folks. Everybody's
Yeah.
going to get a free German Sentry sprue, compliments of Wargames Atlantic. Go ahead, Randy, what you got?
Oh, so I was going to say, like some of the boards that people have, they'll have like just a generic mat at other tournaments, and
Yeah.
their woods will be just a piece of green felt, which gives a definition, and then trees are placed on it. So people kind of get used to that, and then they think when you see the cigar box mats, they have the outline on the, and you have to use that. You can't alter from that because it wouldn't, if you threw a piece of felt down, it would, unless it was exactly the size or bigger, it would be a little confusing. So that's why we go with the outline of the trees on the cigar box mat. Yeah.
Yeah. And, for our listeners, if you get an opportunity to pick up 1 or 2 of the cigar box mats, they're absolutely worth having. I've had mine for, gosh, Randy, what, 10, 15 years? At least 10 years.
Yeah.
You can usually pick them up. They're always at Siege of Augusta. You can order them direct. They're not cheap, but they're not horribly expensive for what they are.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I can't tell you the number of times I've put up a picture of a game and I don't get asked about the game. I don't get asked about the figures. I get, where'd you get your mat?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Speaking of cigar box mats, you were showing me that Gettysburg one. What, 15x8 or something like that? That was just amazing.
Yeah. I was thinking about 1 or 2 at one of those maybe for our Gettysburg event in July.
Yeah.
we'd have to get on it though. It's about 3 weeks out, but
Yeah, that mat's like $140 because I've seen it on their website.
the big one. They
Yeah.
had a couple of the smaller ones too, and we usually run the smaller scenarios anyway. But might be worth looking at. If not for this year, then for next.
Did you notice that
Anyway.
there was like a 3-dimensional look to it?
Yep.
So if there was a hill historically there, if you looked at the way they printed it, it looked like a hill.
Yes.
That was kind of
One
cool.
of my mats does. One of my mats does that. It's the one you usually use for Gettysburg. Pardon the rabbit trail, folks. This is stream of consciousness here. But the mat that you usually use for Heath's Assault on Reynolds
Yeah.
actually has those type of things, and I think you've used them in the past. And you've
Yeah.
put the. So I think I think that particular mat is Seminary Ridge. I think they
Yeah.
don't actually put on the mat what it is. They'll tell you when you buy it, but it's not actually on the mat. You kind of got to just
Yeah.
remember. So there you go. All right.
Um,
Well, so that's. Oh, and go ahead.
oh, I was going to say there's so I know one of the British players is coming, and that's all I can say. But
You just can't resist. Didn't you say one guy was so cocky of his ability to win that he's already sent you his list?
I've seen a couple of players, and sometimes they'll send me a list, say, "What do you think of that?" And I'm like, I don't really want to see it, but then like, okay, yeah, but then yeah, one was like, I don't care if you see it or not.
Name the destroyer. So I do want to share one thing with the folks. I got the prize support.
Wow,
The last
look
of
at
my prize support came a little late, but this is everything we've got, man. We got quite a
that.
haul here. So we've got the tournament dice, of course, a special tournament figure. Wargames Atlantic provided 4 kits, the 2 German Sentry kits and then 2 of the Commando kits. Warlord Games provided several kits, and Warlord Games promotional, and then my rep, Gator Games and Books, provided kits as well. I did the Panzer IV and the U.S. Airborne as prize support. So it's going to be a good collection of prizes here. Everybody's going to walk away with something worth at least a $20 entry fee. So, and that's how us tournament organizers like to do it. We like to have fun, and I think there might be I think David Sauerkamp said he may throw a couple of things into the prize pool. He does some resin printing, so we may have a couple of other items as well. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
It's gonna be cool. Yeah.
I tell you that Lee,
Go ahead.
that Lee is a pretty good little tank.
Yeah.
Having 2 guns on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they released it for the British, and I always get confused. The Lee was the U.S. version, and the Grant, I think, was the British version. I always get confused.
I think so.
I'm sure one of our listeners will be happy to educate me on that. Hang on just a minute. Let me check. Let me check the Great Oracle here.
But I think they crossed it over with both of you.
Do what?
In Bolt Action, I think they crossed it over where both U.S. and British can use either or.
Yeah. So the British can use either. The British versions were known as the Grant, and then the General Lee was developed for the Americans. It was developed in a hurry after the Battle of France. But good tank, like you say, Randy. And again, especially in Bolt Action, for the points, it's going to be a solid armored vehicle. I think it's armor 8. It's got the turret mounted light anti-tank gun. What's that?
It's a 9 armor.
Really?
So yeah, so it has a medium and a light anti-tank gun. Of course, the medium is forward facing and right arc, which is not bad.
Right.
The light anti-tank gun is 360. It's turret mounted, but the biggest thing is it has a turret mounted MMG on top as well. So that's a 360 fire. They don't have to open up to shoot it.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty advanced for its time. That's good.
Yeah.
So I actually like the resin model a little better. I was going to actually put the resin model mark it down and sell it. And I got to looking at it. I think I'm going to keep the resin model. Less parts to put together, and it all looks pretty good. So that thing will be showing up. If I get real motivated, I may get it put together for this weekend.
I can't remember if the Lee I've got was a Rubicon or if it was a Warlord. Is the Warlord one a kit or is it a resin?
The Warlord one had been a resin. So if you got a kit, it's probably a Rubicon. And I know several people have suggested that I ask Rubicon for support. I don't sell the Rubicon kits, and I feel kind of funny about asking for support when I being as basically our club runs it, but my store sponsors it, and I don't know, I just feel kind of funny about that. So but it's not like we don't have plenty to give away, and plenty of good prizes for folk. So, and that's the important part. But yeah, so the old Lee was a resin, and a good kit actually. Again, I was looking at it, and it won't take nothing to put that thing together.
Well, I think
so I'm looking forward to getting that
plastic, done. The Warlord, didn't they switch
What's
over to? Didn't the Warlord Lee kit switch over to a plastic model kit?
Well, yeah, that's what's in the box there. That's plastic Lee. They they just dropped it as part of the after the release of the armies of the United States going into the armies of Great Britain.
Yeah, see, that's what I won at the last Moxie tournament for second place. I got the Lee. Yeah, cool. And I put it together. It's about 70% done.
Okay, good kit. I mean, it's just us here, so I mean, it's a good kit. Is it worth having? Is it a little hard? Basic, medium, advanced.
It wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard some criticisms of the Warlord kits, and I think overall they're starting to get better. I think, and I don't know who made this Lee kit, but I know Italieri made a lot of their stuff. And the Italieri kits can be very fiddly. I know when I saw that as a vendor, I was like, oh. My experience with Italieri was in 172nd. And I ended up actually going with a company called Armorfast when I was doing 172nd because they were just damned easy to put together. I think like the T-34 was like 6 pieces,
Really?
And when you're wargaming, I don't want to put, sprocket 3 on belt A. I want to let me put it together, paint it, play,
The worst ones is where these turrets have like 7 pieces and you got to like glue them all together at once.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do a walk through the FAQs.
Yeah.
Again, I hope you folks have enjoyed this. If you'd like to see us do more of this, let us know in the comment section. If there's other things you'd like to see us do, put that in the comment section. And I know most of you guys are pretty good. If we've missed something obvious in our interpretation, we are always happy to get corrected. We don't mind at all. The Warlord book is like what, Randy? 200 pages now of rules.
Yeah, it's easily double the thickness of the original book, I would say.
Right. And we pick on our Starfleet Battles players and our Squad Leader players about how thick their rule books are. But I tell you what, we're in the ballpark. There's a lot of stuff to keep up with, and that's not even counting the Army rules. So there you go. There's a fair amount to this. So the FAQs here, and it's kind of cool if you've downloaded the newest one. They've already highlighted in red changes from the previous, which makes it nice because we had already looked at that. Looking at rulebook errata, and some of this is kind of just some of this would have been things that you and your opponent probably would have said, yeah, this makes sense. In some cases, they just kind of spelled it out. For example, vehicle mounted flak machine guns do not have their shots when fired against aircraft. And I guess they spelled that out in the rule book. We had seen it in the Army lists where you'd see MGs that were rate of fire 6 as opposed to 3. Scenario, page 165, key positions. And I thought this was already in there, but it makes sense to capture an objective. This will be important Saturday. Yeah. One of your infantry or artillery units or transport, including one such, must end its activation within 3 inches, and there must be no enemy unit of any type within 3 inches. And of course, the gaminess on that is I park a tank on the objective to deny it to you.
Yeah. Well, and so
Get some.
they come up with this this FAQ on this one because that is actually in the rule book, but it's hidden way back in the scenario. It's
Okay.
not in like the main part of the rules, so it can be hard to find. So I think they did that so that everybody would know that.
Good idea. Yeah.
I think you have to look at the key position scenario to actually see that. It's not in the regular part of the rules.
I think you're right. And I remember there was even a discussion early on of, okay, how do you capture objectives? And it was like, well, look at the key position scenario. Well, not always playing key positions. So there you go. And that's the thing, too. I had a lot of fun generating the scenarios for this one because there's so many more variants now that you can do on your scenarios to keep people on their toes. Company commander can be mounted on the same ride as other units. That to me, that was kind of a nada.
Yeah.
So if your force includes horses, motorcycles, whatever, bicycles, you can mount your company commander. I guess what you can't do is put your company commander on a bicycle or a horse if the rest of the force isn't.
Right. See, because there's that option in the company commander to give them a bicycle, but it doesn't tell you in the army building app that the rest of your force has to have, or at least one of your units has to have it in order for him to take the bike, but or the motorcycle or whatever. But
excuse me, I like the idea of the horse just for fun. Why not? Mounted officers, what could possibly go wrong? Actually, I don't think is there any negative in Bolt Action for being mounted?
On a horse there is, because your cover save is crap.
Okay. And it is. Yeah. Okay.
And that makes sense too. You would think you're sitting way up in the air with no armor around you or nothing. You're just a sitting duck.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
So, right. Case in point, if you ever watch Band of Brothers, the episode where this German officer runs on these GIs and he tries to turn his horse around and run away, well, they gun him down. I mean, he'd been better off jumping off and running on foot.
Right. Honestly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And most games will make cavalry easier to hit or mounted troops because they're just so much higher.
Yeah.
Once firearms get effective at all, the poor horses, you might as well leave them home. That or just make sure they're not anywhere in line of fire. Because the Russians made lots of use of horses, but they would generally dismount and then engage, fight like dragoons. Although there are stories of Russian cavalry riding down, fleeing Axis troops. But the Russians are crazy anyway.
And that's what they were used for, is to ride down people that weren't shooting back at them.
That's right. A lot easier, right? So one key change on 183, transports and tows. They count as transports even though they don't have transport capacity, and they can be fielded in any platoon instead of a medic as long as the platoon allows transports. Really, I guess the clarification, I don't know about you, I've yet to use medics. Have you tried using medics?
I have. And it seems like you can never roll that 6. Honestly, what Warlord should have done with medics is have them save on a 5 or 6, or have it tied to their veterancy. So if you have a regular medic, he saves on a 6. If you have a veteran medic, maybe he saves on a 5 or 6, and then that would make a lot of sense. You guys better at stopping bleeding and stuff.
Right. Because veteran means exactly that.
Yeah.
So they made a clarification under Lend-Lease, and again, this was kind of one of those that I could see somebody pushing the issue on this. It doesn't say they can't, but anybody, if you think through what Lend-Lease was, gyro stabilizer special rule does not apply to Lend-Lease vehicles. No kidding. There is no way in any kind of UMA we would have let the Soviets have access to gyro stabilizer technology. Oh, no.
Even if the tank was equipped with it, they're not trained on it. The Americans, those tankers were trained to use that. That's why you can only take veteran only veteran tanks can utilize it because they have to
Right.
know their shit.
Yes, this is a family show, really. And then I guess they added in for transports for the Russians, I guess in 41, the M3 scout car. I guess that wasn't there before, but of course it should have been there because that was, I mean, everything on this list of stuff we shipped to the Ruskies in 41.
Yeah.
They got the cool thing about building the Sherman, Lee, any of the Allied tanks too. If you ever want to pivot, if you're building an American or a British Army, and you ever want to pivot to Soviet, especially like me, I tend to not put a lot of decals on my stuff. So it'd be nothing for me to pivot to Soviet with my Sherman tank. And now that I'm building that Lee too, although the Lee's probably going to end up in desert colors because it's going to get added to my British 8th Army Force because they need a tank.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. So armies of Germany, stationary firing platform. Key point here: vehicle may not fire if it's given an advance order. So if your vehicle has stationary firing platform, you cannot move and shoot with it. And that's if you look at some of the vehicles in their firing position, they would open up and drop. I know the British Bofors gun, it's actually got jacks, and they would set the jacks and then engage with the gun.
There's
forward observer.
So most of those are aimed at multi-rocket launcher platforms, but there's actually a German light autocannon platform that has the stationary as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're probably talking about the same vehicle. Wait, no, my German flak in Flames of War was the single 20 mil standard gun, not on a vehicle. The British had the motorized. And then they talk about forward observer options. Forward observer can add one unit in the forward observers group can add an assault rifle for 6 points. Okay, a forward observer group with assault rifles. There you go. Now we're talking. Now you got a little commando team to run around and bother people.
Of course, that's German.
Pretty
they
darn.
get all the goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get all the goodies. Well, they did, Now that's one of those things that really threw me off when I first started playing Bolt Action because the assault rifles were rare and really didn't see any significant use till I think late 44. But oh my gosh, every German army and its brother has assault rifles coming out of its nose. You pay for them though. Talk about the SKF. Go ahead.
So this is in the regular part of the FAQ. I don't know if you saw this or not. It says if a tank is assaulting an enemy while moving through rough ground, does it have to move at least 4.5 inches, i.e. half of a run, move reduced to advanced speed? And they said, yes, that is correct. So that does two things. That solves two arguments. One is you have to get up to at least half of your assault speed in order to assault, because if you can only go 5 inches, or let's say 4 inches, you can't get up enough speed to actually assault something. So you have to go a minimum amount. And two, it specifically mentions here going through rough ground, because a lot of people argued that you can't assault with a vehicle through rough ground. But this actually clearly says that you can, because it's using that as an example. You're making a run, but you're only be able to go at advanced speed.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that. Oh, there we go. It's in the FAQs.
Yeah.
So I understand that's their interpretation. It's the only game in the world I know of where tanks can assault through rough ground.
Yeah.
Most other games that I've ever seen, it's got to be open ground. Panzerblitz, you actually had to be open. You had to catch the unit in open ground and then have enough movement points to exit out the other side of the hex. So you had to be able to get all the way through the unit if you were going to overrun it. So, hey, there we go. Makes tanks even more valuable. So there you go.
Yeah.
Somebody I know, what was it? Chris Hutchinson likes to go around running over anti-tank guns. with light tanks. Crunch, 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 crunch.
Yeah.
You do too.
I did. Yeah, I've done that with my Vickers. Yeah. Yep. I ran over a
Jeez.
pack 40 with it.
So for those of you that don't know, look up the Vickers tank. It's like a machine gun kitty. And you
Yeah.
imagine it overrunning a pack 40 is like major tank killer. That's just
Yeah.
awesome.
It's a tiny little tank. I don't know how the guys
Yeah.
fit in there. They've got to be cramped in that little tank.
Oh, it had to be. I'm sure probably a 3-man crew. So the Strummel 258 on page 74 of the German FAQ and the 251-9 can they can add a coaxial MMG. So you're replacing the second option that you can add a coaxial MMG to the howitzer. I guess that's a howitzer mounted version. For plus 5 points. The Strummel, those are half tracks. Okay.
Stummel.
You can buy an inexperienced 8 rad. Lucky him. This was a big one here, and we have to kind of do a retraction from last week's show. The SKFZ 250-4 option, which was an experimental prototype.
Yeah.
They can mount the 2 pintle mounted MMGs covering the front arc, but it loses all transport capacity. And I know when we looked at the optimized German list last week, we were like, hey,
Yeah.
looks like Easy Army missed something. No, they actually had
They had it right.
FAQ apparently before it dropped. Yeah.
It's
had it
funny.
right.
The Warlord app
Easy
was
Army,
wrong.
what's
The
that?
Warlord app was wrong, and Easy Army was right. That's a rarity.
That is a rarity, and it could be that they opted not to update the Warlord app until after the FAQ dropped. I can see someone doing that, but they had to get it to Easy Army in time for them to update all their stuff.
Yeah.
So, man, talk about having to watch the Esoteria. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that really
The last
changes
thing in
that list that I sent you, because that was a key component there.
Right. You had it transport capacity 5, so you
And
were
I had
carrying a
2 of
small
them.
5-man team, huh?
I had 2 of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So suddenly your force is a lot less mobile. So there you go. All right. And as a TO, you kind of want to watch for that. That's one of the reasons I like people doing. And I don't know that I've ever required people to do Easy Army or the Warlord app. I probably should. I think I've had one person maybe send me a written list, and I did checked it real close actually. But that's as a TO, I can see most TOs saying, and most of us do, it's got to come in on an army list, army builder, just so we don't have to go through and chase down all the little rules. And the last thing for Germany, I guess there's an Eisentoss Flammwaffe crew. Yes, guys, I just butchered some more German, which is unarmed. But they're not, let's see.
That's the one-shot flamethrower.
They're armed with pistols, and they're not replaced with unarmed models. They remain equipped with pistols, which are better than nothing, but just barely. By the way, Randy, I think you had done going back to the original rule book. When you did your home guard list, you had guys in there without weapons, and it looks like they've pulled that option. You can't have you can no longer have home guard guys without weapons. Home guard section unit entry. Delete the following special rule. Unarmed if taken, unarmed men neither shoot nor attack in close quarters. Their only value is as casualties. So it doesn't look like you can take them, can take unarmed guys. They did the same thing for one of the one of the partisan units too. Inexperienced infantry. Yeah.
No, it says that they can fight in close quarters. The unarmed guys, you can still take unarmed guys.
Was that the intent there?
Yeah.
Okay. They could have been a little bit more clear in how they laid that out. They should have done a replace instead of a delete.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So
United States. Go ahead.
When they mention a delete phrase, you almost have to have the book open to that page and then
Right.
look at it and take it out and then read that paragraph to figure out what they were really trying to tell you.
So this is the reason many games is used to do a hole punch instead of a bound rule book, and you would just pull out the page and replace it with the new rule.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful. ASL did and does that. I think Starfleet Battles used to do it. Don't know anybody else that does. So you've got to have your FAQ and your rule book with you. So, make sure you're printing those out.
Yeah.
Armies of the United States just dropped, and not a lot, just one page so far.
I think there was only one or two things in the Army of U.S.
Yeah, and I thought this was already clarified. Stationary platform, air, land, and sea, you got to be a regular veteran. But I thought that was specified in the rule itself.
A lot of these are they're just being redundant, really.
Yeah, HQ options. Any unit can be given horses for plus 3 points per man, but can only be given horses per the rulebook errata if the rest of the unit has horses.
Yeah.
I
think your
USMC. Go ahead.
So I think your compulsory infantry units have to be mounted in order.
Yes.
So if you have extra infantry, they don't have to be mounted, but your compulsory units have to be mounted in order to
Got it.
Headquarters.
So USMC Raiders and Merrill's Marauders, I would just kind of hitting those both the same. You can the NCO and up to 3 men can add submachine guns. By the way, I think Dark Stories, is the name of the channel, did a special on Merrill's Marauders. Really interesting story there. So if you get a chance to watch some YouTube shows about Merrill's Marauders, they're pretty interesting. War Dog teams can replace their rifle with a submachine gun. Makes sense. Twin 20 millimeter AA Mark IV. Change the points values as follows: 65 points regular, yada yada. Okay. Oh wow, the M6 GMC can have a light anti-tank gun that covers either the front or the rear, and can have a pintle-mounted HMG with a 360-degree arc. Okay. Oh wow. So the reconnaissance Jeep, you can upgrade the MMG to an HMG. I thought we could already do that.
It got left out in the original build, and so I think they've added it now, which it was always that way too.
Yep. Yeah, I think the list builders already had it. I know one of the lists I got today had Jeeps with HMGs, and I think they were recon Jeeps. And then it looks like the regular Jeep, page 83, can be given the amphibious rule for free. Okay.
So what's interesting there is the U.S. Jeep only had the recce Jeep only had the MMG option, but the British Jeep you could upgrade to an HMG, but it does not have recce.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. I don't know if you saw the meme on the Georgia chat today. The difference between the German FT-17 and the French FT-17. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Rangers lead the way is resolved before preparatory bombardment. So if you want to charge your Rangers into the prep bombardment, knock yourself out. So you have to move. If they're going to do it, they got to do it before the bombardment comes in. Yikes. Okay. Well, there you have it. A little bit long show, kind of random here.
One other thing, Mike, that you missed on the standard rules is the reinforced front armor rule.
Right.
So, case in point, let's say the Comet, it is still a 9 armor tank. It's rated at 10 in the front. And so there was a question of whether dog mines or suicide bombers would hit the front armor. But the Their answer here was no, the reinforced front armor rule does not work against either because it states shots. So it only applies against ranged attacks like, anti-tank guns and stuff like that. And obviously against mortars, it doesn't, common sense. It's coming in from the top. There's no way you're getting the front armor bonus.
Right.
So
Right.
everybody was wondering, because there's no modifiers for either of those two, the dog mines or the suicide bombers. They have their penetration value with no modifiers. So it doesn't matter what direction they come from, rear, front, side, whatever, you're still hitting the base armor of the tank.
Right. I see the new red rule too about tank assaulting through rough ground.
Yeah.
Huh. They split point blank for units that are down too.
Yeah.
If a unit's down, yeah.
So if part of your unit's not in point blank, then you're going to have to. So it's going to cause a few more rolls. You're going to have to roll separately on some things. You're going to have to do a little more math.
That's good.
Yeah.
Range does matter, and especially for that one.
Yeah.
Cavalry units can dismount at the end of an escape move. That's pretty cool.
That can actually be quite huge because if you escape but you're still in an area where you could be shot at, you don't have any cover saves. So if you can dismount, then you might be able to dismount into cover. So you're not only getting the cover bonus, you're not getting that penalty for being up on a horse.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Looking at compulsory activation. Go ahead.
One thing that people don't really use recce for, but it's so useful, is advancing your unit. So you can use that to advance to where you wanted to go anyway. So just like, please shoot at me, I'm going to go ahead and take my move and run up to here, and that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have to recce away from the enemy. You just have to. You don't have to recce directly
farther
away from the enemy. You just have to recce away. Yeah,
farther. You have
that's
to
a good
either
point.
farther away, improve your cover. One of those conditions. It's like 3 things that you have to do.
Yeah, and then the last one. This is really significant because we get a lot of debates about this. If more than 50% of a unit's models are out of the arc of fire of a fixed weapon or a vehicle-mounted weapon, and the unit is in open, does the unit get a cover save? No. Cover saves only originate from intervening troops or terrain. So, yeah. Oh, that's in the open. Okay. There was another one. Maybe that was the one I was looking at. Okay. I thought where it said, because I know usually when half a unit's behind a building, we'll give that unit cover save over half. Often that's how we've adjudicated that. They do a couple things with the maps too. So, there you go. What else did I miss, Randy?
I think that's it. Most of it's
Good.
a lot of it's just redundant stuff that we already really knew, and they just kind of put a dotted the I on it. Really, is what they did.
Yeah, and I mean, some people might argue, "Well, gee, guys, why'd you do a walk through the FAQ if it's in print?" Well, one, to kind of remind you, keep up with the FAQs because your opponents will.
Yeah.
And while nobody necessarily is going to go out of their way to be a horse's rear end about it, some of these can be significant. And if you're planning to make an action and then the FAQ says, "Sorry, you can't," sorry, you can't. So it's incumbent upon the players to kind of keep up with the changes. And thankfully, there's they're free updates, so you can just kind of catch up with them. Probably review them when they come out, review them before you play a game. After a while, they're second nature. I like to just take all mine. I'm going to have all mine in a notebook. I'm going to print out the other two. I've already printed out the big one here for the rule book itself. and I'll print out the armies of Germany and armies of US, and I'll have all that. So if there's questions, I can answer them for folks. All right, there we have it. It's been a long one, hour 14 minutes. Randy, we sure know how to talk, bro.
Yeah. Talk about nothing.
Talk about bolt action.
Yeah.
So
So
hope you guys have enjoyed it. Go ahead.
So Moxie's got they got a recon tournament coming up in July, but their next big tournament's in August. So are you going to make it out there and play as a player?
Probably not. I want to say that August is I have to check the calendar, but I want to say August is Huracan.
No,
Yeah.
September. September is Huracan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'll have to look and see what else I got going on in August.
Can put you on a hot
Gotta get a kitchen pass. Do what?
That's yeah, you need a pass. You need to earn some points.
Need someone to watch my girls.
Yeah.
NashCon's the 14th through the 16th. I don't think I'm going to that one though, just because of reasons. When's Moxie's tournament? The 16th?
So Moxie is August. Want me to look? I can find out here real quick. Let's see. It is.
So one of the things we try and do, folks, is keep you informed about different tournaments and stuff that are coming up. There's several active groups. The Georgia Bolt Action group is real good. Our own, Savannah Pulaski's Guard is real good. Moxie doesn't tend to put up events, do they, for their tournaments? It's usually you've got to be in the Moxie chat.
Yeah, and they put them on Best Coast pairings.
Right.
So that's
but they're usually full too.
They usually have a little room here. Let's see.
I'll poke Patrick and say, hey, you need to put up a Facebook event.
Where the heck? June. All right. Find it a bit. I had this thing already located and it keeps disappearing on me. Game system. So there's quite a few on Best Coast pairings, both U.S. and European. So if anybody wants to look for Operation Moxie Summer Offensive, August 24th.
Tell you what, Randy, flip me the link to that, and we'll put it in. Yeah. We'll put that in our description below, so folks can keep up with that. Now, but a lot of places go through that Best Coast pairings. It's a good place to look. And I'll poke Patrick too and say, hey, have you thought about putting that up as a Facebook event? And I know what the challenge is. You want to make sure that when people say they're coming, they do something. Like for our tournaments, it's like I've got to have your army list. Or to lock in. If I don't have your army list, then I just don't consider you locked in. So thanks, Randy. I've got that. I'll put that in the event when I put it up tomorrow. When I put the video up tomorrow. Cool. Good idea. Good options. It's kind of quiet in the summer months. I think Historicon's coming up in July or August. August is actually kind of a busy month for different things. Like I say, we got NashCon. So a lot going on. We will probably do something. Our big July event, of course, is going to be Gettysburg.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we'll do anything. I don't know if we'll do anything in August with me already having events planned, other events planned. So we'll see. But y'all keep up with the channel. Keep up with the Facebook page. I'm on Reddit as well. There's a Gator Games on Reddit. Go ahead.
As far as Gettysburg, what did we decide? Were we going to do the alternative if Lee had not said if practicable?
Sounds good. You're the GM on that one.
Yeah. So we'll do Culp's Hill. Well, it'll be Yule's attack.
Sounds good.
Really,
Yeah.
is what we're going to do, I guess.
Okay. Very good. All right. I think we got it. A lot going on. British Army book drops in. British Army book drops in August too. So if you've not pre-ordered that, here's
July.
a shameless plug for Gator Games and Books.
July.
We're happy to pre-order it for you. July?
Yeah.
Okay.
End of July. You're almost in August.
Right. Yeah. So I'll have a link to that in our section below as well. And I keep up with what the British are going. The big thing is they're breaking out the Imperial troops and the Commonwealth troops into 2 books, and we'll see how that works. And they've also released and I actually put a couple in stock. They released a priest kangaroo that I just thought looked wicked cool, and so I threw a couple of them in stock. One of those may find its way. One or both of those may find its way into my British in Desert Tan,
really
because
nice.
why not? Yeah.
Especially if you want to invest in a company commander, it's a great ride for him because it makes him almost impossible to kill. I mean, you really got to dedicate some serious anti-tank assets to take it out.
Wow. Yeah. The that's a whole boy. We could be here for another 30 minutes talking about the kit bashing they did with the kangaroos, and why Western IFV development seemed to just not really keep up with that after the war. But that's I mean, we had the M113, which was kind of that, I guess. But anyway, yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit trail.
I've
Cool.
driven one.
Guys,
I've driven an M113.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a story I can tell you about M113 after we get off the air.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hope to see folks Saturday. I hope some of our folks that are coming are watching. Be watching next week as we recap the tournament. Probably won't run nearly as long, and we're hoping Randy manages to land in one of the tournament winner slots. I got to tell you, he may be the assistant TO, but he gets no breaks from me. It's like nope.
Yeah,
he doesn't even know. He doesn't know the scenarios.
You've rolled against me before in a tournament.
Oh, we won't even talk about that. Well, was that a tournament when you got those 6s in a row? No, that was just us playing, I think.
That was just a casual game. Yeah.
My casual dice.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Very good, guys. All right, man. Again, thanks for watching. If you stayed with us, hope you did. Hope you learned some things. Randy, anything else for the folks before we wrap up?
Nope. I think everybody's ready to hit the sack.
I know we are. It's after 11 here. So I hear you. All right. I will see you tomorrow, Randy. Folks, I will see you on our next video, which at the very latest will be next Thursday. Thanks for watching. And again, do all the YouTube things. Depress the like button. Share with your friends. Share with your enemies. Share in your game groups. Help us get the word out. That's right. This is the mouse. This is what you use to push the button. Best way to support the channel is buy merchandise at GatorGamesandBooks.com. Link in the description below. As you can tell, it's thirsty work. If you want to buy us a coffee at Ko-Fi or at Patreon for $5 a month, that would help. And that goes those links are in the section below. This is my full-time job at the moment. So there you go. Love the hobby, love y'all, and have a good night.
Good night.